Hey, good Wednesday morning, everybody. It is May 21st, 2025. Welcome back to Headline Hits on the LWN Network. Thanks for joining me this morning or this afternoon. I'm Tammy Nation, your host, Monday through Thursday, noon Eastern Standard Time, every day for Headline Hits, where we do our best to stay on top of this ever-changing news each and every day. It's just constant. And as we know, the flow of information coming in, it can be confusing sometimes. So we try to help straighten it out for you and all that. Also, if you guys didn't have a chance to last night join us, LW and I did do a show. Jeff B did call in a few times, and we had what I thought was a great conversation, starting to put the puzzle pieces together of things going on in this world, things we put aside that actually are coming into fruition, different postings that our president has posted on his Truth Social and other social media pages, some of the coverage that is going on that is even on the left that is starting to admit different things with President Biden or former President Biden and his condition. So if you didn't have a chance to catch the show last night, I invite you guys to join us and go ahead and check it out. It was a good conversation, and we always love the things that you guys put in chat and hear what you have to say. It is part of a community, and we're so appreciative to each and every one of you. So we have some stuff to cover. Obviously, you can see right next to me here with these headlines. So I'm going to go ahead and play this quick little intro, and I will be right back so we can start the show. So here we go. The first thing that we have up this morning is going to be something we covered a little bit last night, and it is one of the Truth Social posts that the President Trump put on his Truth Social yesterday afternoon. I think it's pretty powerful and it's pretty strong, and it encompasses the bigger picture of former President Biden's health condition and why we were not informed of it and what was actually possibly going on. So this is what his Truth Social post stated. He said Joe Biden was not for open borders, that he never talked about open borders where criminals of all kinds, shapes, and sizes can flow into our country at will. It wasn't his idea to open the border and almost destroy our country and cost us hundreds of billions of dollars to get criminals out of our country, plus go through the process we are going through now. It was the people that knew he was congenitally impaired and that took over the auto pen. They stole the presidency of the United States and put us in great danger. This is treason at the highest level. They did it to destroy our country. The Joe Biden that everybody knew would never allow drug dealers, gang members, and the mentally insane to come into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. All anyone has to do is look up his record. Something very severe should happen to those treasonous thugs that wanted to destroy our country but couldn't because I came along. Make America great again. So that, like I said, is a very powerful statement. It is very powerful accusations that the current president is saying and is dealing with and putting out there for the world to see. You have to remember he is on the world platform. So he's not going to put something out there like this just because he feels like it, just because he's had a bad day, just because he doesn't like something. There is a lot of potency to this statement that he made. So I think it's very important that we pull back and look at the bigger picture, at what this administration is uncovering and seeing, unfortunately, and how close we came, I do believe, to losing this country to people that wanted to rule and control that really didn't care much about us. So the next story ties into that, and it's going to cover a little bit about President Joe Biden's last known prostate specific antigen, which is a PSA test that was in 2014. So that's the last time he had a test. And questions are rising about how much his cancer is spread and why it wasn't caught earlier, because we know that the president of the United States always has the best of the best medical doctors around them, medical facilities, all that. They are top of the line people. So his last PCA test was in 2014. Prior to Friday, when the announcement made, President Biden had never been diagnosed with prostate cancer. The PSA test, what it is a blood test used primarily to screen for prostate cancer. The test measures the amount of prostate-specific antigen, PSA, in the blood, according to the Mayo Clinic. PSA is actually a protein produced by both cancerous and non-cancerous tissue in the prostate. It's a small gland that sits below the bladder in males. It is mostly found in semen, which is also produced in the prostate, the Mayo Clinic said. So small amounts of PSA ordinarily circulate in the blood. And what the PSA test can do is detect high levels of PSA that may indicate the presence of prostate cancer. However, many other conditions, such as an enlarged or inflamed prostate, also can increase PSA levels. Therefore, determining what a high PSA score means can be complicated. The former president's prostate cancer has been characterized by a Gleason score of 9, with metastasis into the bone. The ranking of Biden's cancer on the Gleason scale, a grading system for prostate cancer severity, has sparked serious concerns as it correlates with high-grade cancer. The fact that Biden's cancer has been classified as hormone sensitive means it could be more responsive to hormone therapies and thus more treatable. Now, Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis has ignited several questions about why it wasn't caught sooner, despite the undergoing several physical examinations that he had. There are things going on that the public wasn't informed of, President Donald Trump said on Monday. And he says, I think somebody's going to have to speak to his doctor. This is no longer politically correct. This is dangerous for our country, he added. Somebody is not telling us the facts. So the president didn't hold in and spare any words about this as well. And then I saw on one of the shows on the media that a doctor came on and said, there is no way that you can have what he has and it diagnosed, boom, like instantly, like everything came out at this severe level at once. He said, he talked about the process, which is complicated, about how you have to take samples and you have to diagnose it, that this doesn't just come out of nowhere. So there's huge concerns on who kept this from us, why they kept it from us, and it is dangerous for our country if we have a president that seems to be failing in his faculties, as well as having a serious disease that seems to go untreated or unknown by us, the American people, when he's the leader. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I agree with that 100%. We all know that the President Trump has to go through all this scrutiny. He just took all these cognitive tests and everything, and he aced them. So it seems like for him, they've always said, you need to do tests. You need to expose this. For him, they want him to be a complete open book. And unfortunately for President Biden, former president, everything was closed with him. And at this point, I'm telling you, I feel bad for him because I think it was the people around him. And I believe that he really isn't with it. And he wasn't faking it. He really just wasn't with it. And it's just cruel. And it's unbelievable that people that want to be in power would do something like they've done with President Biden and his administration and to this country. So next up, speaking of bad people, Buzz Patterson did share this about Hillary Clinton on X, his X account. So he was the Air Force military aide for Bill Clinton, and he lived in the White House, traveled everywhere they traveled, and he carried that nuclear football. And he said, so as such, I was always in close proximity to both Bill and Hill. That's what he called them. Among the military who served in the White House and the professional White House staff, the Clinton administration was infamously known for its lack of professionalism and courtesy, though few ever spoke about it. But when it came to rudeness, it was Hillary Clinton who was the most feared person in the administration. She set the tone from the very first day in my assignment. When I first arrived to work in the White House, my predecessor warned me, you can get away with pissing off Bill, but if you make her mad, she'll rip your heart out. I heeded those words. I did make him mad a few times, but I never really made Hillary mad. I knew the ramifications. I learned very quickly that the administration day-to-day character, whether inside or outside of DC, depended solely on the presence or absence of Hillary. Her reputation preceded her. We used to say that when Hillary was gone, it was a frat party, and when she was home, it was Schindler's List. In my first few days on the job, and remember, I essentially lived there, I realized there were different rules for Hillary. She instructed the senior staff, including me, that she didn't want to be forced to encounter us. We were instructed that whenever Mrs. Clinton is moving through the halls, as to be as inconspicuous as possible. She did not want to see staff and be forced to interact with anyone. No matter their position in the building, many a time I would see mature professional adults working in the most important building in the world, which is our White House, the People's White House, scurrying into office doorways and escape Hillary's line of sight. I'd hear whispering, she's coming. I could be walking down the West Wing hallway midday, busier than heck, and people would be doing the administrative work, whether in the press office, medical unit, or wherever. She'd walk in and they'd all scatter. She was a Nazi school marm, and the rest of us were expected to hide as though we were kids in trouble. I wasn't a kid. I was a professional officer and pilot. I said, I am not doing that. So there actually, he says, he continues, Buzz does, saying there was a period of time when she attempted to ban military uniforms in the White House. It was the re-election year of 1996, and she was trying to craft the narrative that the military was not a priority in the Clinton administration. As a military aide carrying the football and working closely with the Secret Service, I objected to that. It simply wasn't a matter of her political agenda. It was national security. If the balloon went up, the Secret Service would need to find me as quickly as possible. Seconds do matter. Finding the aide in the military uniform made complete sense. Besides, what commander-in-chief wouldn't want to advertise his leadership and command? She finally relented because of the Secret Service weighing in. The Clintons are corrupt beyond words, he continued, and he finishes it with saying, Hillary is evil, vindictive, and profane. She is a B word. So one person saying this about somebody that worked with them wouldn't hold much weight. But what I'm trying to show you is there's a continuation and a pattern of personality, of priorities, of actions that were taken, how you can say one thing as a public figure and your actions behind the scenes are completely different, because obviously you want to appear as nice as possible in public to get the public to like you. And it is just unnerving to me as we find out more and more through some administrations about just the different things that they think about we the people, think about the country, how they want to line their own pockets, and they're worried about themselves and getting more and more planes and homes across the country and travel. How even on a local level, we've seen so many stories about on a local level that people were paying boyfriends to work with them, like here in Georgia. They did that. She had her boyfriend investigate Trump. And, it just goes on and on about what we're finding out. And the country, I don't think, could continue the way it was continuing, because it was getting worse and worse and worse and building over the decades. This just didn't come out of thin air. It wasn't just one administration. But I'm thankful that it is being showed now through this administration, all the ugly and all the advantageous things, that the ways that these people used our money, and how we, the middle class, are just trying to survive, let alone thrive. We would love to thrive, but they used our money against us and paid other people in other countries and stuff. So this isn't a Trump thing. This is an America thing. Next up, we have James Comey. So Republican lawmakers do want to translate their wrath over James Comey's social media post concerning President Donald Trump into a tangible step against the former FBI director. Remember the seashell incident? Because Comey posted on Instagram and deleted it an arrangement of seashells that read 8647, because 86 is a slang term for getting rid of someone. So Comey claimed he didn't know. We know all about that. The post was widely read and as call for removing Trump for office. But Trump fired Comey during his first term, leading the former FBI chief to be vocal anti-Trump. He really is. And Trump said he does not buy Comey's explanation. He said he knew exactly what he meant. A child knows what that meant. If you're the FBI director and you don't know what that meant assassination, Trump said. In response, members of the House Republican Study Committee have introduced a resolution ensuring Comey never returns to federal office, according to Just the News. The proposed resolution urges the relevant authorities to take every relevant action to ensure that Comey is never again permitted to serve as an employee of the federal government. The resolution calls on the Justice Department to conduct a full and comprehensive investigation into the social media post, and then release the findings of that investigation to the relevant House committee and the public. Study Committee Chairman Rep. August Pfluger of Texas and Rep. Laurel Leoff of Florida explained the resolution in a statement on the website. Pfluger's website. The deranged and reckless social media post from the former FBI Director James Comey represents a shocking betrayal of the trust once placed in him by the American people. Having failed in his attempts to take down President Trump as one of the main architects of the Russia collusion hoax, we know all about that and how it's falsified, Comey has now resorted to the unthinkable, calling for violence against our commander-in-chief. That someone who once held one of our nation's most secured positions of law enforcement would incite such a dangerous rhetoric is just not alarming. It's disqualifying and un-American. This resolution demands the accountability and transparency the American people deserve, encouraging Comey never again holds a position of public trust. We cannot and will not allow former officials to weaponize their influence and fan the flames of division. Lee said Comey was engaging in rhetoric that carries an implicit threat against President Trump. As a former federal prosecutor and judge, I take this seriously, Les said. When a former high-ranking law enforcement official invokes language associated with Elimination 86 in a public post referencing President Trump, it raises legitimate concerns under federal statutes that prohibit threats against presidents and incites violence. You and I know we would never get away with anything like that. He said, so that's why I'm introducing a resolution to make clear that James Comey should never again hold a position of public trust in the United States government and to formally urge the Department of Justice to investigate whether his conduct violates applicable laws. So Deputy Chief Director Dan Bongino said he and Director Kash Patel are cleaning up the mess Comey made of the FBI, according to a post on X. Former Director James Comey brought up shame to the FBI badge yet again. This past week, the director and I spend an inordinate amount of time cleaning up messes left behind by former Director Comey, and his latest actions are no exception, he posted. Bongino wrote, as I've stated in the past, I cannot post openly about all the things the director and I are doing to reform the enterprise, but I assure you they are happening. Sadly, many of those agenda items are the result of former Director Comey's poor decision-making and atrocious leadership. And those who doubt me, I assure you, when you see what the director and I see from the inside, it's even worse. So once again, no games being played. The timing isn't where we want it, but it's coming, Bongino wrote, along with Kash Patel. They are seeing things that they can't believe. And, you know, you and I have thought some pretty bad things in what was going on behind the scenes of administrations and certain so-called lifer people in the seats. But we're seeing so much ugly. And you would think looking through it, they would come out themselves and post positive things they've done. Instead of just saying Doge should be shut down and going against Doge, you would think they would be happy that they found all this corruption, all this money that was lost. Or even themselves, if they're accused of something, you would think they would come out and have a whole list of details saying, you know what? This is what is being said about me, but this is what I've done. This is what I've achieved. You know, it seems like they only lost and used our money for personal gain. It doesn't seem like they list all the positive things they've done. You would think they would do that to counter that instead of just saying, no, Doge needs to be shut down. Like the curtain needs to remain closed on everything. I just don't understand it, other than most of them are probably guilty, unfortunately, and or crooked. And, I'm an optimistic person, but when I see their actions and responses to the things that are being done to improve the country, and it's not positive, it gives me pause, definitely. Next up, we have Andrew Cuomo's facing some heat. We know the former New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, and current New York City mayoral frontrunner, so he's running for mayor. He wants to. The Justice Department did open a criminal investigation into Cuomo. So last month, House Oversight Chairman James Comer sent a resubmitted criminal referral to Attorney General Pam Bondi, demanding the Department of Justice pursue charges against former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo for lying under oath during pandemic-era investigations. This letter, addressed directly to AG Pam Bondi, accused Cuomo of violating a federal statute prohibiting false statements to Congress. In 2020, how Governor Cuomo in New York implemented programs that ordered sick COVID patients back into elderly homes in the state. As a result, thousands of elderly people needlessly passed away in the state. Then, when the official counts of the deaths in the state nursing homes were requested from the DOJ, the numbers were fudged. The numbers were reported about 50% less than the real counts. That is horrible. An investigation into Cuomo's actions was put in place, and Cuomo resigned as governor of the state. However, the investigation into illegal actions by Cuomo related to the huge number of nursing home deaths was dropped by both the Biden DOJ and the Manhattan DA. Andrew Cuomo is a man with a history of corruption and deceit, now caught red-handed lying to Congress during the Select Subcommittee's investigation into the COVID-19 nursing home tragedy in New York, said Chairman Comer. Gateway Pundit, if you want to see all the details, you can go to Gateway Pundit. They have all the documents and details on their webpage. Some of the things that you can click on is the actual letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi. You can look at the full criminal referral and additional supporting transcript for this. And you can also review former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo's transcribed interview transcript. So this is what I like. None of this is hearsay. None of this is one-sided. This is facts and truths being put out there, not just accusations. There is paperwork to back this up. And we had said at the beginning of this COVID pandemic that the replications and the decisions that were made at the time, we're going to have repercussion actions for individual people, businesses, job losses, business losses for many years to come. And we are peeling back the layers of that onion. And unfortunately, that's another thing that is not going so well, because we are seeing the amount of damage that has been done to this country emotionally, our psyche, families, friends, businesses, and on and on. We are still paying for that this day in 2025, 5 years later. And unfortunately, I think that as all this is peeled back and open, we're going to find a lot of these people, unfortunately, that we put trust in, or some didn't have our best interests at heart, as we have uncovered. It originated in the Wuhan lab, which they denied. That some scientists were there was a leak and they were exposed to it, then came into our country. All that was hidden. We've got the paperwork, the documentation, the investigations that have been continuing, laying all this out. So as it is laid out, then comes the process of bringing people to justice. And I know a lot of people are saying nothing's ever going to happen. We've been waiting long enough. But I do have faith and hope that people will have to face the piper someday soon. And then last up for today, this is interesting and a positive note, obviously. Yesterday, President Donald Trump with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth alongside him in the Oval Office did a presser, and they revealed yesterday afternoon that the administration has selected an architecture for the Golden Dome, National Defense Shield, that he promised on his campaign trail. The president said, "Today, I am pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for the state-of-the-art system that is going to deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors," Trump said, noting that Canada also wishes to be included in this project. He said, "So we will be talking to them." He goes, "They want to have protection as well. So as usual, we will help Canada and we will do the best we can." Trump estimates the Golden Dome should be fully operational before his term ends. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles, even if they are launched from other sides of the world, and even if they are launched from space. And we will have the best system ever built, he said. Trump said the Golden Dome will protect the homeland from advanced cruise missiles, ballistic missiles, and hypersonic missiles, and highlighted how the project harkens to late President Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. The One Big Beautiful Bill Trump is urging lawmakers to pass would pledge $25 billion to the project and would run a final price tag of roughly $175 billion per Trump. Hedges said the Golden Dome would be a game changer, calling it a generational investment in the security of America and Americans. And you may not know, but Ronald Reagan did have this idea back in when he was in office. But the problem was the technology didn't exist then for him to be able to do it. So President Trump is facilitating that now that we have the technology. And I, for one, am all about investing our money into our protection and security. The way the technology is and with drones and everything else, to have a protective dome over us that could intercept all of it is pretty incredible to me. And it's about putting America first, the generations to come. This isn't a one and done where it's just our generation. It is going to be generations to come. And then they just advance the technology as it advances. So I thought that was pretty optimistic and pretty cool because President Trump did talk about that. Some people laughed at him back in the day when he said he was going to do it. But I don't think many people knew that Ronald Reagan did have that idea first back in the day when he was president and just couldn't facilitate it. So anyhow, that's what I have for today for Headline Hits, you guys. Once again, thanks you for joining me this Wednesday, March 21st, 2021, or 2025. Don't go back to 2021, Tammy. March 21st, 2025. Thanks for joining me. I will be back tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time, for another Headline Hits for you guys. It'll be the last one of the week. I don't believe there's going to be a show tonight. There may be, but we'll put something out if there is. I'm not so sure about it yet. It depends on work schedules and whatnot and that, but we will definitely post it if we do. I am not sure. It's up in the air at this point. So take care. God bless. If I don't see you tonight, I will see you guys tomorrow for another version of Headline Hits. Take care. God bless. Once again, thanks for joining me. Hit the like, share, and subscribe for us, please, to spread a word about this channel. We appreciate you, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.